You could do everything on your to-do list, get to your end of your life and be miserable because your to-do list doesn't have the more meaningful things on it. That you need a to-die list that reminds you about the things that you're going to be treasuring most at the end of your life.
So here's something that might be a little uncomfortable to think about, but if you let this in, it could be a game changer. Have you ever asked yourself what someone would say about you at your funeral? Not what you had, not about the stuff, but actually about who you were and what your life was all about. I know that's a tough thing to think about, but when we let that in and really connect with these picture ideas of who am I, why am I here, what am I doing with my life, it can create a ton of clarity, intention, motivation, and will help you get your life on track and help you create something that is truly meaningful and unforgettable. And that's what today's episode is about. My guest is Karen Salmansohn, whose new book is a must read, and it is called You're to Die for Life. And in it, she's opening up these questions and more, giving you tools, giving you direction to find your big picture purpose and move forward. And Karen, I'm so excited to talk to you about this today.
I'm
Holy moly.
with you too.
Big stuff.
These are the big questions presented in a gentle, humorous at times way to make it an easier conversation. Because death feels difficult to talk about. It's like one of the last taboo conversations. We'll talk about so many things, but we'll avoid talking about death. And I'm hoping to make it a more comfortable conversation for people to talk about because I think there's a lot of benefits to becoming really aware that we are mortal. Like, surprise,
Right.
we walk around thinking, oh yeah, life is short, but we're not taking that in enough.
Right.
The little kick in the pants we need to live more bravely, more authentically, more meaningful lives.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, it is scary to think about. It can be uncomfortable. And yet, there is an ancient tradition of people harnessing the power of this kind of thinking going back, thousands of years.
Yeah.
This Memento Mori concept, remember you will die. Carlos Castaneda wrote all about it in the 60s and 70s, like talking about how we can intentionally remind ourselves that we don't actually have all the time in the world and use that awareness to make more intentional decisions about what we are doing with our lives in the here and now. And that's what I love about your book and your work is that you are bringing fresh life and I think a very positive and joyful, perspective to this. But boy, the power is still there.
It's still there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because death used to be more out in the open. Like when somebody died, the family would be the one to get the body ready. And we used to have jewelry way back in the day where you had a brooch with your, am I saying that right? With your, with somebody who's passed hair inside. Like she would literally walk around carrying this relic hair. Yeah.
Oh, my
To
God.
remind yourself, memento mori,
Yeah.
So I have my own little memento mori practices that are wake-up calls for people. And because I believe that mortality awareness creates urgency and urgency creates action. So when you're really aware that life is finite, it makes you like stop saying someday and start saying today.
Oh my gosh.
This.
We have so much stuff to crack into. But before we dive in, would it be okay just to ask you a little bit about your personal journey? I'm so curious to understand how this perspective was created through your own life experiences. If it's okay to ask about that, I don't want to get into too personal a territory, but I know there's a story here.
Yeah. I've been wanting to do this book for the longest time. It started actually when my dad passed away, which at this point is about 2 decades ago. And it felt surprising, and it felt very challenging. A lot of things came up for me from this. And it was really weird. This is like a kind of poignant, humorous moment. I love reading. I'm kind of a geek. And
Me too.
yeah, reading the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. This is a humiliating story. And I love that book. And like it made me want to learn more about like all kinds of like Buddhism and Eastern philosophy and all of that. And I underlined it and everything. But the first part of the book is about living, and the back part is about dying. And all my scribbles and dog-eared stops right before the dying part, because I thought, oh, I don't need to read about this. That doesn't apply to me.
Nothing here.
Like that. And then
Yeah.
a couple months later, my dad died. And I thought, oh, I had stopped reading the book at that point. And it was like, oh my gosh, death is coming for all of us. And it woke me up to think about, where am I stalling? Where am I dear blocking me? I was very much loving my career, but I was putting off having a family. And my dad's passing was like a wake-up call. Like I say, death is an excellent alarm clock, because it got me to think, okay, I need to start my family now. And so in a weird way, my dad's passing was the reason why I became a mom. And he died on August 27th, 4 years before my son was born, on August 27th. So my dad's death day was my son's birthday.
Oh my gosh. I just got chills.
Yeah. I felt like
That's
a wink
amazing.
from him to me, like,
Yeah.
Karen, and good going. You're doing it. You're now living your fullest life. And I wrote his eulogy. And the eulogy, I had a lot of odd synchronicitous things happen. On the day that he died, we didn't know it was going to be the day that he died. He was in the hospital. And my mom came in the morning, and she said to me, Karen, I was going through Dad's bedroom bureau drawer, his personal one, and I found this old letter that you had sent to him when you were in college. So I was like, oh, interesting. And I had sent him, I was reading a book. I didn't even know what book, because I ripped out the pages from the book to send it to him, because I loved the pages so much. And he had saved it in his envelope, it was dated from my college years. And those pages were exactly about what you need to be reminded of when someone passes. It was like crazy weird.
Oh my God.
And I'll tell you what the pages said, because I read them at my dad's eulogy, and I put them in my book, but I actually don't have the paper anymore. But I remember it because it stayed with me. And so this is not my words. This is somebody else's words.
What was this from? Just out of curiosity.
I still don't know that.
Oh, okay. Random pages from a random book. Okay, well.
But this, like, it begins, everything that is not given is lost. Take those words in. This is a potent wake-up call. Everything that is not given is lost. I repeated it twice. And then it said, every thought, word, your talent, your skills, your passions, your ideas is lost unless you share it with others. So if you hold yourself back and don't share who you are and share what you think and share all of your gifts and talents and passions, then you're going to make a very small ripple in the pond. And then it compared giving of yourself to being like a pebble in the water and the ripples that you leave behind. But if you give yourself fully, truly, boldly, then you're going to leave ripples not only in the people that you come across, but then those people will share your ripples with the next people, and those people will share it with the next people and the next people. And living and thinking about this, what kind of ripple do you want to leave behind? And I thought about that, and I thought about the ripples that my dad left behind to me. There were certain like ways of living that I learned from him. He was like kind of contrarian thinker, and I kind of got that from him. And he loved like goofy jokes about that, and all of those little ripples. And he was also notoriously very empathic. And I wanted to be like that. I wanted to borrow his ripples. And then I thought about this and I thought, I'm going to do this exercise. I'm going to write my eulogy. So I wrote my own eulogy of who I wanted to become, like a vision state. What kind of life do I want to live? And I wrote that out. And I looked at current me versus aspiration eulogy me. And I thought, what do I need to do to create the bridge habits that will from current me to aspirational eulogy me? And that's just some of what led to writing the book, because I did that and a bunch more things. But I'll stop there for now. But that was part of what led me to write this book.
That is incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And also thank you so much for sharing the ideas that shaped you. And I have to tell you, Karen, you and I think that we might be twin flames. I earlier in my life encountered some similar ideas that had a profound impact on me and my work. Just to share here, I'm going to pull this up. Like, to this day, on my website, if you go to the About Us section of our website, I'm going to pull it up really quickly so I don't like botch this, but I feel like I have to share this because this is important. And I think it kind of goes into this idea that you're trying to communicate. And of course, everybody has to craft their own, like, what is the meaning of my life? What is my life's purpose? But the quote that I still hold on to, whatever we become here in mortality is meaningless unless it is done for the benefit of others.
Yes.
Our gifts and talents are given to us to help us serve.
Yes.
And in serving others, we grow.
Absolutely.
And that's from Betty Eady, actually. And I often think about this in my work because, so my background, I'm a psychologist, I'm a board certified coach, and I'm also a marriage and family therapist. But I always think about like the work that I do. It's not just helping the individual in front of me or like helping a couple. It is, what are they going to be transmitting to their children that then those kids transmit generationally going forward? Like, if somebody can have a better relationship, a nicer family, an emotionally safe environment, that ripples for generations. And so to be thinking about the meaning of your life in terms of not just who you are, what you're doing in your little immediate sphere, but how is this a generational transmission? Somebody's going to be benefiting from something that you did 100 years from now. They will have no idea why. They won't know who you are.
Yes.
But nonetheless.
Yes. And in the book, I talk, and we are definitely
totally
same wavelength.
This is amazing.
And as I wrote the book, sometimes you write the book and you know what it's going to be, but then you only, I think your brain has to be in the middle of writing it to get to the next level of awareness. I really realized by the end of the book how much a meaningful life is being of service and giving.
Yeah.
So you really feel like your life had the purpose and the meaning. But one of the things in the book that I talk about is, and I have 10 different things to say. I'm looking at all of them. I'm so excited. So my zigzaggy thing that my story of me being a writer is I love writing. I love research, and I've written a lot about resiliency psychology and happiness and a lot of philosophy that is based on Aristotle. And in fact, I am so influenced by Aristotle's philosophies that I did something kind of geeky, which is when my son was born, I named him Ari as a wink to Aristotle.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I didn't call him Aristotle. That would be too much, but
that's a big name for a 3-year-old for sure.
Yes. Yeah. So Aristotle, why do I love Aristotle so much? Aristotle's actually slightly responsible for this book. He says that he believed that the reason why, okay, 5 different reasons why I love Aristotle. He believed the reason why so many people are unhappy is they confuse pleasure for happiness. Pleasure is about immediate gratification. It's really about your ego or your body, status, power, fame, beauty, lust, all of those things. And happiness is more about learning lessons that help you to grow into your best self. Pleasure is more about enjoy now, struggle later. And happiness, which is called eudaimonia in Aristotle's world, is more about struggle now, enjoy more later. He said that you don't know if you've lived a good life until you're on your deathbed. And then you can look back and see, okay, because you'll figure it out. Like while you're lying there, you're going to know, like, okay, how did I do? And he thought that you should begin every project with the ends in mind, everything small from like a bake sale or whatever they did back in Aristotle's day to that gigantic project called your life. And begin with the ends in mind and think about how do you want to feel on your deathbed and then reverse engineer it and start doing those habits that aim you towards how you want to feel on your deathbed. And he said that we all have the same purpose for our lives, no matter where you're from like Toledo to Toronto to Timbuktu, we all have the same goal. And that is, as I said earlier, to learn lessons that help you to grow into your best self. And he said the reason why so many people go through their lives feeling like, is this all there is? And they feel somewhat unhappy, is because they don't make that their end purpose for life. They think my end purpose is become the richest person on the planet. They become the sexiest woman on the planet, to get the most followers on the planet. And those are not really about your core self or your soul or your spirit, whatever your wisdom is around that. It's sort of the same thing, your inner you. Those are about more your ego or your id, again, more about whatever your belief system is, whatever you call it. And that Aristotle believed that the purpose of your life is education of your soul to become your best self, or as I kind of humorously put it, the soul is your G-spot for happiness.
Yeah.
The more you aim at things that make you happy, the more happy you're going to be. So you have to live that way and think about, that's why writing the eulogy was so powerful for me. It was aimed at thinking, how am I going to feel about this on my deathbed? Or if you don't want to think deathbed, how am I going to feel about this when I'm 80?
I think, end of your life.
Yeah. And feeling that way and really believe that there is a future you out there depending on you not to be a goofball now. So we're making future you not pissed off at you later and to live that way. And I have a whole system for that, which I can get into, but I'll pause there for a moment.
This is amazing. What I'm thinking about, I have to share, there's this common thread, as a student of psychology, there is this common thread that runs through so many schools of thought about this type of thing. And I was just thinking that I had the amazing opportunity to interview Dr. Dick Schwartz on this show. He's internal family systems therapy. That guy, metaphysical. He's unbelievable. But talking about how this primary goal that is the vehicle of happiness, of mental health, is this development of this very strong essential self. And I hear that in your story as well, that there is this best self that needs to be recognized and identified and then intentionally cultivated throughout the lifespan, and to not go on autopilot, to not let just sort of things some of that's always going to happen, but that when you get very clear around this time limited piece, it focuses that work and helps push you back into clarity around how am I developing myself. And when you orient that around not pleasure, but happiness, that brings it into focus.
We are so on the same wavelength. It's wild. So
this is so good.
So a couple of things to say about that. one of the reasons why I wrote the book that I personally say, but it is true, is I didn't have a near-death experience, but I had what I call a near-life experience.
Oh, tell me.
A near-life experience is when you're on autopilot. And so many people are doing that. Like, we're on our phones. We're like, well, say we're near life. We're life adjacent. We're not mindful of our life. We're making autopilot choices.
Yeah.
And
so easy to do.
And my dad's passing kind of woke me up, snapped me out of my near life experience and had me realize like I need to be in this more and I need me to show up. So it was for inside of the book. I figured not everybody's going to write their eulogy. It's not exactly like a happy practice on some level. So I created this fill in the blank eulogy template, sort of like Mad Libs. You would remember those from the fourth grade. Template. And I realized as I was doing it that most of the blanks have to do with core values. And that to become your best self at the end of your life, you have to fill in the blanks and figure out what are your top core values. Become intentional and clear about your core values. So in the book, I have people do the Mad Libs type template, and then we look at your core values, and then I have my top 7 that I do think are universally good. But again, if this is you have to pick the core values that are for you, and I don't want to dictate what top 7 or top 5 or top 3. You should always pick your own core values. But I have people create what I call a to-die list, which is different than a to-do list.
Okay.
Bridge habits that help you to get from current you to aspirational eulogy year. Because the problem is we are such like productivity robots on the, we have so much to do on our to-do list all the time. But here's the truth. You could do everything on your to-do list, get to your end of your life and be miserable because your to-do list doesn't have the more meaningful things on it. So you need a to-die list that reminds you about the things that you're going to be treasuring most at the end of your life. And then, because I'm a geek, my to-die list things are you create these habits, it linked to your core values. And when you link your core value to a habit and you create what is called an identity-based habit, you're more likely to do it. So now I can back up and tell you what that means.
Absolutely. This is very important, you guys. Listen, I'm familiar with this general idea, but this is incredibly important. Right? Please.
So an identity-based habit, I'll start off with an example that I think most people would relate to. We have them, but we don't know we have. For example, if you walk around thinking, I'm sloppy, and then you're going to do the behaviors of a sloppy person. I'm organized, you're going to do behaviors of an organized person. I suck, you're going to do behaviors of an I suck person. I'm wonderful, I'm this. So you have to, your identity is your destiny. Like Frank Sinatra, he's saying, doobie doobie doo, great crooner, but he's a backwards thinking personal development person because you have to be do.
Oh,
be do. Got it. You will dictate if you do the habits. So that's why you have to think about who do I want to become to get everything that I want in my life? Who do I need to become? And then think, and you can even work backwards if you're having a problem. Who do I need to become to have, a better relationship with my partner, better relationship with my son? Who do I need to become to publish this novel? Who do I need to become to finish that screenplay, to hike, that mountain, whatever it is? And then the answer is core values. And then an identity-based habit that goes on your to-die list based upon these things. So for example, let's say I have a 93-year-old mom at this point. She's alive and kicking and she's a spitfire.
And congratulations.
I know. And she is, I love her and I'm so grateful that she's around. But sometimes my world gets overwhelming, right? So I think to myself, I am a loving person. And so I call my mom on, Wednesday at this time, Sunday at this time, every week, no matter what. Now, if I just wrote, I'm calling my mom, and I put it in, but if I link it to, I am a loving person, which is obviously something that I want to be remembered as a loving person, I'm more likely to do that habit. So this came up recently. My friend Danielle was having a birthday, a party, and she lives in Connecticut. And at this point in my life, I'm like one of those Sex and the City characters. I don't drive a car. I don't have a driver's license, and getting to Connecticut would be.
And great shoes.
I do have great shoes.
Okay.
Well, I thought I'm a loving person. And so I go to Danielle's birthday party in Connecticut. I find a way. Every time you remind yourself of the core values that you want to embody, and you put it on your to-die list, you're more likely to do it than if you just write down, call mom, go to Daniel, those core values. And it has a ripple effect that gets you to do more habits that are based in those core values, because your identity becomes your destiny and you tend to do those things. So what I do is I awaken people to the core values needed to live a life that they're proud of.
Amazing. You guys, we're going to take a super quick break. My guest today is Karen Salmansohn. And on the other side of this break, I'm going to be asking Karen a little bit more about how to become the kind of person who can create the ultimate destiny that you want to actualize in your life. We'll be back in just a second. You guys, we're back. My guest today is Karen Salmansohn, and we are talking about her work and her new book called Your to Die for Life. And Karen, before the break, you were really taking us in to how we can create so much clarity around who we are, what we want to not just do, but actually be in our lives by connecting with the final version of ourselves, the self at the end of our lives, perhaps even a eulogy, and then reverse engineering, going back into values and then translating those values into your identity, your habits. Like, this is so much good stuff. And what I wanted to ask you, if this is okay. So when we first started talking in the show, you mentioned, I shared a personal story about how your beloved dad passed away a couple of decades ago, and how this really launched you in this direction, and how you started doing some of this work yourself, including writing a eulogy around, like from your ideal self to guide yourself in the present. Would you tell us what happened? How did that act impact your life trajectory over the last 20 years?
Well, I still have the eulogy, but it keeps changing because we keep changing. And then also, after you accomplish something, you want to add on something else too. So,
isn't it? Yeah.
Updating it. And in fact, I updated my eulogy to include this book, because this book I consider my legacy project. And I do feel like everybody should have some sort of legacy in mind, which we talked about earlier. But I also think legacies can be anything. They could just be the qualities you want to pass on, or breaking, a familiar pattern that your parents, like breaking something that was from the past that you decide not to bring it in to your kids and their kids and their kids. So it doesn't have to be like a book or anything like that. For me, it was a book. I like writing. I have a lot of different things that I do that have, from the eulogy, that keep me from going off track. Because at this point, I have 7 core values in my eulogy that showed up for me as very important. And I use those almost as accountability buddies, to remind me that these things matter to me. Even if I don't look at anything specific, I talked about writing your to-die list. So I'm going to take you through my favorite 7 core values that keep me kind of honest about the life that I want to live. So they actually go in alphabetical order, so they're easy to remember. So the first one is A, authentic. I want to be my authentic self. So even talking to me right now, this is me. Goofy.
We're totally.
I like geeky. Whatever I am, this is me. I'm not like showing up like somebody. I am being me in this. I'm being me wherever I go. And I believe that the you-ier you are, the happier you will be.
The you-ier you are. I love that. Okay.
Well, the next B is brave. So the braver you are, the bigger your life, The next letter is B for brave. And then next is C for curious. I believe staying curious keeps you kind of limber to be adaptable when you get thrown curveballs and everything like that. You can ask yourself questions like, what can I learn from this? Why does this keep happening? And that helps you to grow. D is discerning, because a lot of people have a lot of clutter in their lives that take up too much of their day. Those near life experience things that, we're on our phones, we're on our screens. So discerning about the people in your life, if you have toxic friendships, all of those things. The next one, E, is empathic love. And I called it empathic love because I needed an E and I wanted love. But I actually thought,
and empathic love is the best kind of love.
That's what I thought.
Yes, it is.
I'm like, okay, all right. And because it actually, if you just said love anyway, you might think I meant romantic love. And I want all kinds of love. And
right.
Love is, I'm committed to understanding you and listening and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But is fun. That's a core value. Well, it's not.
My core value lives too. Fun, right?
I think fun.
Yeah, we need to have a good time, Karen. We really do.
And that's where if you do everything on your to-do list, then you're not embracing the core value of fun. And that's a very common deathbed regret, that people get to their end of their life and they think, I wish I hadn't worked so hard, wish I'd allowed myself to be happier, all of that. So you need to actually schedule fun. Be aware of fun,
Totally.
The core value from A to G is grateful gratitude. We appreciate what you have. Even if you're striving for more, to be grateful for where you are and what you have, created in your life thus far. So there's
amazing.
I keep those in mind as I go through my day. And even just having those in my mind, if I'm given at a crossroad to something, then that will help me to make the better choice. For wait, I value being brave. I'm going to do this. I value being discerning. I'm going to just have to say no to this. I value and using those core values as touch points in your day.
Well, and the way that you've used this, and so began with a eulogy, like bringing all of this into clarity, but it turned into values that then translate to, I'm the kind of person who fill in the blank. And then when you have that clear, it informs your behaviors and the things that you do. But what else I love about the story, Karen, is that it isn't like you just did this once. You've turned this into a practice where you revisit this eulogy in honor of the fact that you are growing and evolving and that things shift, and maybe your core values stay the same over time, but what that looks like in your life, I'm guessing, shifts.
Absolutely.
As you change.
And part of it is I have a journaling exercise to help people. I use this to write. I do a morning practice where I write my to-do list each morning and choose a couple of things to be thinking about on that particular day, depending upon like what my overall goal is, or if I'm having a problem. And I do it this way. At the top of a page, I write the sentence I had said earlier, who do I need to become? And I could do it, who do I need to become to, and then I could look at my to-do list, or I could look at a problem that I know is in my life. Who do I need to become? I don't know what it would be to motivate my son to study for his science test. Or what it's a little.
You figure that out. You let me know. Yeah.
Or who do I need to become to get myself to go to the gym today to be healthier? So, and then I write that down. Or I could do it. I could look if I'm having a problem. Who do I need to become to stop doing this? To start doing that? To help this person, to help my friend who, And then I link it to the core value. And it's a daily journaling practice.
That's such a good idea. I have to tell you, just personal share. So I'm also a huge fan of values-based work. I think it's so important, and I've done a fair amount of this in my own life. And it is so darn easy to get disconnected from that.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times, like maybe even once a year, kind of, going through this like vision for my life kind of thing. But then it stays in my little notebook all year. It is not in front of me in my planner. And that just, I think we're so assaulted with all of these random things that we air quote need to do. And we're not making those discerning decisions about, wait a minute, is this part of my bigger picture life trajectory? Is this who I am becoming? Or is this really a distraction, right? Something that's going to pull me away from this. I haven't been doing a great job of that in my own life. And I'm sure a lot of people listening to us right now can relate to that. And so I love it that your book really has specific concrete practices that we can all be using to keep this in front of us, because tell you what, I don't know about you, but like getting older, like, man, time starts to go by faster and faster. And you look up and it's like 3 years later and like, what did I, so it's like, we have to.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Because it's like, where did that decade go? Right.
Blink of an eye.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Yeah.
In the book, I explain this. I explain how to write your to-die list. And I have morning practices, afternoon practices, and evening practices. And so you can pick and choose. You don't have to do everything in the book because then you'd be too busy. The choice is there for people. And then you can pick, I like, that morning practice. Oh, that's a good thing to do in the afternoon. Oh, me. I have a bunch of different ones, and I have my main favorites. And I have a monthly practice that I do that in the book, but I'll tell you now.
Okay.
Because I have a feeling, twin flame, that you might enjoy this practice.
That I might actually do it as soon as we end this call. Okay.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. I'm going to write this down.
I started this a few years ago, and I counted out how many months I have left to live, right? I know. A little bit.
That's punk rock, Karen.
Like,
all right.
Numbers wake you up. They really do. Numbers wake you up. I'm 64. I'm going to be 65 in August. So if I live to 100, which I promised my son I would do, my son had to 200, but I bargained him down to 100. So if I live 100 and I'm 64, then I only have 36 more. Live 36 more. June's 36. It's a wake-up call when you label it like that.
It really is.
So what I do is I had 427 months left to live, and I bought that many marbles, 427 marbles. And I put in a jar, and I have one jar with all the marbles and one jar where I empty the marbles each month. And every month I do a mortality marble ritual, and I take out one marble and I think about it. Okay, this was April's. This was March's. What did I do in April? What did I do in March? What stood out for me? And then I journal about it. How were my relationships? And I check in with myself, looking at that marble. It's a piece of my life. And then I plunk it into the jar with the other marbles from the past. But then what it does is it makes me aware that I'm going to be doing this practice again at the first of my next month. I want to make sure I have some good things to think about when I pull out that marble. And I keep the marbles in the kitchen, right by the window, and they twinkle in the sunlight. So it's not like morbid or anything. They're very pretty marbles. And every time I go into the kitchen, I look at those marbles, and it keeps me just accountable to how I'm spending my month. And like, for example, one month I was supposed to visit my mom, and then I had something come up, and then she had something come up. And then this is sort of funny. I had a tooth issue, and I needed to get the tooth was cracked. It turns out if you have the silver fillings that they crack after 20 years. So it cracked and they were going to have to pull it and put in the new one. I was going to be in pain for a couple of days. I was supposed to visit my mom the next day. I'm like, oh, I'm still coming in because I have it. I'm visiting you in February and I have to make, it was like the end of February. I'm like, I'm coming in tomorrow. My mortality marble. I have to. Visit you in February. I know it's coming in. So I went in to visit her. I was fine. I mean, I wasn't sure if I but it sort of was funny. It didn't. She's like, oh, I can wait for next month. No, February, I'm visiting you.
Like, no, I can't. That is so, dude, Karen, that blew my mind. But it's like to have such a concrete, physical, almost like a ritual where you can actually see it, your life kind of going by in a felt way that, I mean, this is okay to say, but like increases anxiety in some ways because you can see it. Like it adds to this motivation. And I bet every time you're doing that, you're like, I don't have all the marbles left in the world. And my opportunity to be the person I'm growing into is like every single month, there it goes. Did I do it or not? But like to be able to keep it in front of you, because I think that that's what happens is that, just that, like in those old movies, like the calendar pages just whizzing by and like you look up and it's like, oh my gosh, I have had the great opportunity through my career to walk with a couple of people to the very end of their lives. And that is what they say every time, that I thought I would have more time. I thought I would have more time. And this practice with the mortality marbles is that you don't have more time, actually, and to be real clear about what you are doing today and this month to keep it in front of you. It was Annie Dillard. How we spend our days is how we spend our lives.
Yes.
That's what it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Numbers
and
are
this
big
is
wake-up calls. And
they really
I'm
are.
saying the word anxiety, but there is some
In a good way. Anxiety is positive. Anxiety has a bad rap. It's very motivating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, I think stress, they say cavemen had the anxiety so they would have more energy run towards the animal or to run away from the animal, whatever is their goal. Or like caffeine. It's like nature's that gets you going.
Totally.
Those numbers are wake-ups. Like I said, I count how many months. And then I wrote an article about it back in February that I had 36 February. So it's in my head that I have 36 of everything this year.
Wow.
But I started thinking about it like this. I have 36 summers left to live. Now and then next winter, I have 36 winters left to live. Like really, look, my voice is cracking as I say it. Makes you say, this summer better be a good one. One. So I have all of these little tricks that motivate you, but not with too much anxiety. I have a lot of fun ones in the book too. A lot of humorous ways to move yourself, to motivate yourself. But mortality awareness creates urgency and it creates action. So many of us procrastinate unless we have a deadline. And we literally have a deadline. And the more that we're aware of that, the less we're going to waste our time on nonsense.
Amazing. But that's a better word for it. Maybe not anxiety, but urgency, to keep it in front of you. That this is important. Pay attention. Oh, I love this, Karen. Personal share, if it's okay.
Yeah.
I, throughout my life, have really appreciated the power of coming into contact with end of life experiences, because it pushes us into contact with these big pictures, big questions, I should say. And, it's so interesting. And so for our listeners here that are just listening to this on audio and not watching the video of it, Karen and I are visiting, and right behind her is this window with this beautiful New York skyscraper background, like right in the middle of the city. And, Karen, as we're talking, one of the things I'm thinking about is that one of the pivotal moments in my life happened on September 11th, 2001. I don't know if you were in the city then, but
New York, yeah.
okay, well, I was, the 20 something, kind of in the midst of a quarter life crisis, like, or what, in a place where I really wasn't doing the right thing. I wasn't connected to a bigger picture thing. And, you know, things happened that morning that were absolutely shocking. And one of the things was that my cousin, Jimmy, he worked at Cantor Fitzgerald at one of the top floors of the World Trade Center. And he was a really neat guy, smart guy, in his 30s at the time, probably. World was his oyster. And just thinking about how suddenly and unexpectedly, I always had this vision of him just like, sitting down at his desk, going to work, and bam, right? And that at any moment, it could be lights out. And I just remember that. And I was, again, in my early 20s, but thinking like, oh my gosh, I don't have all the time in the world. And that actually launched me in a direction of thinking about what my values were. It's important for me to be of service to other people, to be helpful to people. And that shifted my trajectory towards becoming a therapist. It was shortly after that I decided to apply to counseling school because of that experience, being like, you know what, I could be done at any second through some like total random thing that nobody saw coming. What do I want my life to be about? So just to add, more personal validity to what you're saying, but what has been hard for me is to always just like maintain contact with that day to day, week to week in a very felt way. And that's why I'm so excited about your book and why I'm just so thrilled to be talking about it today, because we can have these pivotal, powerful, like, oh my God, like lightning strike types of moments. But then it's, what do you do with that in order to apply it?
Yeah.
And that is where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And it's so important.
It's so,
because without that, it's like good intentions, but it falls apart.
yes. And in the book, I have, like I said, different choices of practices that I felt like everybody's different. Some people will like this morning habit or this evening habit or this afternoon habit. But I thought I'd mention the marble one because that one I feel like is universally. I wrote an article about it on Substack and people seem to like it. So I thought I'd bring that into our conversation too. And it's something that's in my kitchen right now. I see it all the time. So I can't escape it. And then it's a monthly practice. But there are so many different practices you can do to just embrace life more fully, and that's what even though the book is about death, it's really about life.
It's totally about life.
And, the way that they're end-of-life doulas, some people, when they hear about the book, they go, oh, my friend is an end-of-life doula. I'm like, no, I'm not an end-of-life doula. I'm a middle-of-life doula, beginning-of-life doula. Like, there's still time. There's still, like, runway left, hopefully, because we don't ever really fully know, but optimistically. And I want to take people by the shoulders and wake them up and try to get them to live more, I guess, all of my favorite core values: bravely, discerningly, fun, more, all of those core values. And when you wind up, at the end of your life, you are going to give your life like a 10-star Yelp review. You're like, it's too good. Amazing.
Oh, Karen, this conversation has been such a pleasure. You guys, just to remind you again, we are talking to Karen Salmansohn, and her new book is called You're to Die for Life. And so, Karen, I feel like you and I could just hang out all day and have the best time. And I want to be respectful of your time. I'm sure you have many other people to talk to with your book about to be released here soon. But for people who are like, I need more of that in my life, where would they go to learn more about you, pre-order the book, those kinds of things?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Well, there's my name is Karen Salmansohn, and everybody mangles it. They always go,
Oh, did I say it wrong?
you said it perfectly.
Oh, Salmansohn. Okay.
But I have this thing to help people to remember my name is I'm always going not salmon because they always pronounce it like the fish. So my website is notsalmon.com and Instagram is not salmon. My Facebook is not salmon. Well,
Not salmon. Okay.
but I also have, in case that's still hard, Your to Die for Life is the name of the book, and I have a website just called Your to Die for Life. And when you buy the book and you go to my website, I have a reward for you. You just type in what your invoice number was. You get a free workshop called It's Never Too Late to Rejigger Your Life. And
Amazing.
that will help you to get rejiggering.
Okay. And I'm assuming that this workshop includes some more activities like the one that you shared with us today
Yes.
around
Yeah.
create clarity. Oh, amazing.
So
All right. Okay, you guys, notsalmon.com. Pre-order the book to get into Karen's workshop and make some magic start to happen. I love it. Karen, this has been such an amazing conversation. I'm so grateful for your time with us today. I learned a lot. As soon as I hang up here with you, I'm going straight to Amazon to order my marbles and my marble jars. You've already changed my life for the better. I think some of our listeners too. So thank you again.
thank you. You are a delight. You are a twin flame. And I'd love to stay in touch and with you to all your listeners too.
Let's stay in touch anytime. The door's always open. Come back. We'll do it again.
Okay.